Welcome back, everybody, to another Tuesday episode of the Take Two podcast. We are your Frame brothers. I am Jameson Frame, accompanied by my brother Reed Frame, here every week to talk all things football. We made it. We made it to playoffs. It's
Playoff
an
time, baby.
exciting time of year for those of you who have teams that are still in it. Unfortunately, for those who have been with us from the beginning, everybody knows we're big Seahawks fans. We didn't make it. I have a lot to look forward to for next year. I think we're going to make playoffs next year. Already calling it now. I'm very excited. So looking forward, long ways away. We'll get to the offseason. It's going to be a long ride. We'll knuckle down for it. But until then, we still got some football left to be played. Still a lot of good matchups this week that I like. We'll dive into those here in a second. That's going to be our main focus for this episode, just strictly talking the playoffs. We'll do a little prediction bracket for each of us, who we think are going to make it far, games to watch, just different key incentives, stuff like that in the game. So without further ado, Reed, we can get started with our predictions. We'll start with the wild card round. Both AFC, NFC bounce to divisional conference Super Bowl. But yeah,
Yeah.
give me a good one.
Playoff time. Playoff time.
Everybody loves playoffs.
That's, when I was going through this bracket, sometimes when you like predict games, you're like, hey, we got Panthers versus Chiefs. I wonder who I'm going to be taking here. When I got to the conference championship, I'm going, hey, this is kind of hard. Like these are two really, really good teams. And of course they're really good teams. They're in the conference championship trying to play for the Super Bowl. So like no brainer read, they're good teams. But I'm sitting there, I'm like, I could flip a coin and be okay with taking either one of them. So just coming out here saying, hey, I think these teams are gonna win, but you could give me a little argument. I'd be like, all right, you got me. I'd go that team. So there's a lot of teams here that I'd interchangeable on, and really one of the only reasons I ever picked them was home field advantage. I think that might play a role here. But first team I picked is Bills versus Broncos. I took the Bills.
I also took the Bills. One thing that I want to say on this game is I think this is going to be one of the best games of the week. I think the Broncos defense has turned it around. They are one of the better defenses in the leagues now. Their pass rush is elite. I think they have the most sacks in the league this year, if I'm not mistaken. Pat Surtain is arguably competing for defensive player of the year. He is lights out, best corner in the league, probably. I mean, you can make an argument for him and a couple guys, but he's definitely in that conversation, right? The Bills don't have great receivers, which means they're just going to be riding the back of Josh Allen. The Broncos can key off of that. I think this is going to be an extremely close game. I could see it. The problem is I could see it being either really high scoring, but I could also see it being really low scoring. I don't have a good read on which one is going to be. Regardless, I think it's going to be a close game. The spread is 8.5 in the favor of the Bills. I think the Bills win this game, but I think the Broncos cover. I don't see them losing by 9 points. I think it's
Yeah,
closer than that.
I definitely agree. I think it was Pat McAfee who said it, and I loved this. The Broncos defense is the defense of the unknowables. I think he called like the unanimous or the yeah, it was something like that. I think he's called it like the unknowables because the only real person I know here is Pat Surtain. Of course, I know Cody Barton because he was a Seahawk, but an average fan that doesn't have like a person that used to be on their favorite team on the other team wouldn't know him. So I don't think anyone else knows Cody Barton. The only person I know on here is Pat Surtain and John Franklin Myers. Again, John Franklin Myers was a young edge rusher.
I,
Know
f-
him, I know
I
of him.
forgot he was there. Yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot.
So I know three guys on this defense.
Zach Allen's on the defensive line. He
Zach
came up from
Zach Allen
Arizona.
too.
I don't
Yeah,
know much about him, but I know of him.
Zach. You
Um,
know the
is
name.
that
You don't.
Nick Bonito has had a breakout season? I think his first name's Nick.
Yeah, it's
Last
Nick
name,
spelled Nik. Weird name to spell Nick.
yeah,
Kind of like
yeah.
it though. But
He had a breakout season. He made the Pro Bowl this year. He's been electric for them. He's been amazing.
it's the defense of the no names. You don't
Right.
know these guys, but
Yep.
they're locking down your favorite team week to week.
They just show up for work, get the job done, go home.
These guys are getting paid 3 million a year. You don't know who they are. They're not getting paid, but they're locking your team down, and it's great. Like if you go look at this offense, the offense is easily the weakest point of this team. Going into this offseason, if you're Sean Payton, if you're the GM, you're like, hey, Bo Nix needs a weapon like right now. We need someone that's a threat. How they're in the playoffs looking at this offense, I have no clue. Because this offense is not scary at all. I'm looking at this offense, I'm laughing. I'm like, what is this? How is this team in the playoffs? If you look at the team on paper, this team is going 4-14. If you look at them on paper, they're not
Bo
4 and
Nix,
14.
the
They're
Bo
not
Nix
4 and 14. They're in the playoffs. This team is just a bunch of underrated dudes that know how to ball, and it's fun to watch.
it's great to watch. I was a Sean Payton doubter at the start of the season. I didn't think they'd be able to do much. I wasn't really sold on Bo Nix. I didn't know what to think. He was kind of in a gimmicky offense in college. You know, it's a lot of short throws, a lot of kind of easy layup stuff. He has transitioned extremely well to the NFL. He's picked up right on pace. He's one of the better rookie quarterbacks, one of the better quarterbacks in the league, just all throughout. So Sean Payton has done an amazing job with this team. Like you said, just not nobody, no big names. They all just kind of do their job. They do it efficiently. They get out there with a win. They go home at the end of the night. So congrats to the Broncos, all Broncos fans. You should be ecstatic. This is way ahead of schedule from where you should be, especially seeing that you're eating all that cap space from Russell Wilson still. Like this was supposed to be the year that kind of a throwaway year. Like, oh, we just got to get through this one year, eating all this money from Russell Wilson. Next year we have a lot of cap room. We can start actually putting a team together and start making the playoffs. Head of schedule, made it this year. So good on them. Would be
OBT
crazy
conviction
if they win this game. Would be really
for
crazy.
sure.
I could see it. I don't think it'll happen, but yeah, this is the game I'll be watching for sure. This will be a good game.
We'll be watching every game. When it
Yes,
comes to
that is
playoffs
you
and
got me.
every game is on by itself, you got to watch every game. It's playoff times. You got to watch every game.
I'm excited for it. Let me put it that way. Like it's one of the games I'm looking forward to watching.
Now moving over to the team they're playing. Now this team on paper is a million times better. We know this. There's a reason why they're a 2 seed and the Broncos are a 7 seed, right? On paper, the Bills are much better. You have MVP candidate in Josh Allen. Josh Allen, I don't think anyone can deny is a dog.
Yep,
You said earlier that Josh Allen's gonna have to put this team on his back to win this game, and that's what he's been doing all season.
yep, absolutely.
It's what it's been. I mean, there's no real true wide receiver one on here. There's a bunch of wide receiver twos. I think all three of their starting wide receivers would be amazing wide receiver twos. They're just finding themselves in the situation where they have to be wide receiver ones, and that doesn't really work out when you have three wide receiver twos playing wide receiver one. Um, Keon Coleman, big fan, deep threat. He's can be explosive. Again, there's just a lot of people that are at the same level. There's no real star receiver here. James Cook's a good running back, though, if I'm going to be honest. I like James Cook. I like Josh Allen. Dalton Kincaid's been pretty nice. Dawson Knox is the backup tight end. The offense can roll.
Mhm.
If Josh Allen makes this offense roll, and I think that's what has brought them to the playoffs is Josh Allen creating that offense.
Yeah, that's the main reason that he's. I don't know if he's still the front runner to win the MVP, but he has been up to this point. Is he's been their team, right? Without Josh Allen, the Bills aren't the 2 seed, that's for sure. They're probably not winning nearly as many games. So just because him carrying them is kind of single-handedly winning him the MVP at this point. Not that Lamar doesn't deserve it, and that's a whole nother argument where we'll get to a different day. But that's just why he's in the conversation. So I like the Bills. I like the Bills a lot. I like the Broncos in this matchup. Going to be a good matchup. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a great matchup. Just a little touch on their defense. This, on the other hand, is a few more names you'll know. The biggest name probably is actually Von Miller, who's a backup. I didn't know Von Miller was still in the league until I saw him get like a sack or a TFL. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, dude, that guy's still in the league. He's got to be 48. Um, it's the most notable name for some reason. But then you got Greg Rosea, you got Ed Oliver, Matt Milano, Damar Hamlin. There's a few notable guys on here that it's not the defense of nobodies, but this defense is definitely not the team's strong suit. So I think we're going to be seeing an offense versus defense matchup in um this playoff game. It's going to be Broncos defense, and whoever wins the matchup, Broncos defense or Bills offense, I think is going to win the game. And like you said, I think it's going to be a close game, a lot closer than the line suggests. And as always, I think I'm going to be cheering for the Broncos here because who doesn't love an underdog?
I know I do. I love an underdog. I'm cheering for the Broncos to win. Um, Also, I'm a Josh Allen fan, so I wouldn't be fine with the Bills winning. So whoever wins that game, you're not gonna break my heart either way.
Josh Allen fan, didn't you? Weren't you like throwing hate at him at the beginning of the
Hey,
season?
listen, I said that I'm a fan, but that he's overrated. I said because of the amount of turnovers he had in previous seasons, everybody was hyping him up, but he was costing his team wins. He did the opposite, right? He turned it around. He stopped turning over the ball. His team gets the 2 seed. Proved my point.
Yeah, I mean, coming into the season, it was the interceptions that just not just the interceptions, the turnovers that were the big problem, and he stopped it.
Yeah,
And
everything else I loved about him. I mean, he was careless with the ball. Was the only knock I had on him.
and now he looks amazing, and now his team's going to make a deep playoff run.
Right.
Okay, moving on
Moving
to
on. Yeah, we spend a little too much time on that. We got to keep moving.
we're having a great conversation. Moving on to the another close game. Again, like I said, all these games are probably going to be close. It's playoff football. It's a divisional matchup in Baltimore versus Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh Steelers, Baltimore Ravens. I have the Ravens.
I do as well.
I think a lot of people in America are going to agree here. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry in the same backfield has to be a crime. I think we've seen it all year. It's got to be a crime. Someone's got to get locked up for that.
It's just what do you do? Damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? You either stop Derrick Henry and then Lamar skirts around you, or if you guard Lamar, Derrick Henry's going to run right up the gut, and it's just pick your poison.
And then you got Lamar Jackson, who actually became a quarterback this year. Dude can sling the rock. Who knew? You got Zay Flowers,
I mean,
quick. Rashad Bateman thought he was going to be better. He's still pretty good. I think he's on flying under the radar a lot. He gets a lot of hate because he's supposed to be better in fantasy football, and a lot of people hate him. Rashad Bateman isn't bad. He's not a fantasy receiver. I wouldn't put him on my team. He makes an impact in real life. And then you got Nelson Aguilar, who it's Nelson Aguilar. Um, but Lamar Jackson not only has Derrick Henry to hand the ball off to, not only has his own legs to run with, but now Lamar Jackson can sling it. And I didn't even touch on their tight end Mark Andrews or Isaiah Likely, who are probably their two biggest threats besides Zay Flowers. Um, Offense is scary. This
absolutely.
they can beat you with the run. They've shown that Lamar Jackson can sling the rock and beat you with the pass. This offense is scary. I mean, pretty good offensive line too. Tyler Linderbaum is probably the most notable guy, maybe Ronnie Stanley, but they got a pretty good offensive line there. It's a really well-rounded offense.
Yeah, and the part of these matchups that make them so good is the Steelers are a defense first team. They always have been. Mike Tomlin, that's the mentality that he always likes to put forward, right? So he always builds his team up from the defense first, which just makes these matchups that much better, right? Ravens have this powerful offense. Steelers have this really good defense. TJ Watt, hopefully he's completely healthy in full effect because he is awesome to watch play in these kind of games. Everything's on the line. He's getting after the quarterback, making Lamar break the pocket, and that's when all the magic happens, right? That's when all the fun plays, the big plays, the all that kind of stuff. So that's what makes these matchups great. The fact that we get 3 Steelers Ravens games in the same season is crazy because those are always fun to watch. They're always close scoring games too, like you kind of talked about. You thought there's going to be kind of a close scoring game. Would you be surprised if I told you the spread was 9.5?
Really,
The
take
Ravens are
the
the Ravens are 9.5 point favorites over the Steelers, and I think that's just it's terrible. I love the Steelers to not lose by 10 points.
that is insane.
Right.
Line that big in the playoffs should never be a thing. It is the playoffs.
There's two of them. The Broncos were or the Bills were 8.5 point favorites, and now the Ravens are 9.5 point favorites. That's
That's ridiculous in my opinion. I that should not be. That's insane. Take the Steelers there.
that's what
Um,
I'm thinking. Yeah, I like the
even
Steelers
if
plus nine and a
even
half.
if they don't win, they're not going to lose by 10. It's a division rival. It's playoff football, and it's a good defense against a good offense. It's screaming a low scoring game and close game at that.
I agree, 100%. My thoughts exactly.
We have been hyping up the Steelers defense. Let's take an actual closer look at this defense. The first thing that pops out to me is how good this linebacking core is. This defensive linebacking core, I'm in love with. TJ Watt coming off the edge. probably you. I think you could say the best pass rusher in the league.
Yeah, it's him or Miles Garrett. I mean, you can make the argument either way. I'm not gonna cry about it either way.
Yeah, yeah, a top two edge rusher in the league.
Absolutely.
Alex Highsmith, who's pretty underrated. When TJ Watt got hurt a few years back, Alex Smith stepped into that role and looked amazing. Kind of taken a step back as TJ Watt's been healthy, but he's still a great edge rusher and can play coverage pretty well as well. Then you go interior, and I love these two guys. Patrick Queen, ex-Raven, by the way. Amazing middle linebacker, extremely athletic, flies around the field, makes plays, fun to watch.
Yep.
And one of my favorite linebackers coming out of this year's draft, he's a rookie this year. Loved this guy. Peyton Wilson out of NC State, I believe.
Sounds right. Yep.
Amazing, amazing linebacker. Loved him in college. I really like him now. Was hoping Seahawks were going to take him. Seahawks don't really listen to any of the guys I want. I mean, I'm hoping like Seahawks go grab this guy, and then we go grab another fifth string wide receiver that barely makes the team. Um, yeah, but Peyton Wilson's an amazing linebacker. This linebacking core is, I honestly think, the highlight of this defense.
I would just like to point out that Tyrese Knight has worked out just fine. So regardless if they got the guy that you wanted, it's working out. We're all right.
I don't know. It's
Mo-
whatever.
Moving on.
Moving on.
The
Yeah.
other the last AFC game, we got the Texans and the Chargers. I don't love this game. I don't know why. I feel like this is like supposed to be one of the closer games in the AFC. Betting wise, it is the closer game in the AFC. I think the Chargers handle business quite easily in this game.
I 100% agree. This is not controversial at all. We were supposed to disagree. I thought I sent you my playoff picture so you could pick opposites or anything. Like, no arguments are going to. This is kind of boring. No one's going to want to watch this, Jameson.
Probably not, but I just don't. I don't see a world in which the Chargers lose this game. Like this is probably my favorite game to like pick a winner because I'm like, just the Chargers. Like just looking at it like Chargers.
Yeah. The
Jim Harbaugh got those guys
Chargers,
roll.
the Chargers have the momentum. Um,
That's yeah, he's got them
They
rolling.
are the hotter team. Justin Herbert looks like he's hitting the stride great. He's going down that final stretch and he looks amazing. He's playing amazingly. Running back room, again, we said at the beginning of this year, I still don't know what's going on here. I feel like you could put any of these guys kind of in there just to start. I mean, Kamani Vidal kind of got his chance. I know I was watching him in fantasy and stuff. I still like him a lot. Just give him an opportunity. J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards. There's a lot of mediocre running backs in here that I think, or yeah, it's weird, right? Now, the wide receiver room I feel like is kind of similar to the Bills. Lad McConkey looks amazing. He's quick.
He's gonna be a star.
He's going to be a star. And then you move down to Quentin Johnston, who has picked up his pace. His rookie year, he looked terrible, and Quentin Johnston has improved, and he looks good. He's just very hit or miss. I feel like he's a very explosive guy. You just don't really know. He's not consistent, is what I'm getting at. Will Dissly, ex Seahawk, a very consistent tight end. I think it's the opposite of Quentin Johnston. You know what you will get with Will Dissly, and he will give it to you every time, which is pretty good in a tight end. That's kind of what you want in your tight end. You move down to this offensive line, and I love this offensive line. You got two really good tackles, and Joe Alt, the 7-foot monster, should be playing center for the Lakers instead of playing right tackle for the Chargers. Rashawn Slater, another great tackle. It's a great offensive line protecting Justin Herbert. Good offense, great offense, and I think that's really what's helping them in their momentum is how much they can score and move the ball.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to think that a year ago the Chargers were like a dumpster fire. They're like, do we just sell the house? Do we trade Khalil Mack? Do we trade Joey Bosa? Do we trade Keenan Allen? Do we just dump all of our big pieces and just restart? And Jim Harbaugh comes in and he goes, whoa, let's pump the brakes. They deal Keenan Allen just to free up a little cap room for them. They keep the two defensive players and they just put together a really solid team altogether. Make a good push. Got the 5 seed. They're a fun team to watch. Justin Herbert's probably playing his best ball right now. He's definitely not putting up the biggest numbers he has, but I feel like he's as a quarterback, he's developed the most this season than he has any other season prior.
He looks amazing.
He looks
I
great.
didn't I didn't touch on the defense. You did a little. Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, two really good edge rushers. I mean, it runs in the Bosa family. Everyone knows this. Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, two amazing players. The person that I honestly forgot about, and I feel so bad for forgetting about this guy. He gets hurt a lot, but when he's on the field, he looks like he could be a top three safety in the league. And I think you just
Derwin
figured out
James.
who it was, Derwin
Yeah, yeah. I
James.
was wondering that I was trying to think of like who else it could possibly be. I'm like, is there a corner? I'm like, he's got to be Derwin James.
Derwin James is a playmaker when he's on the field. And that's the problem when he's on the field is he hasn't been on the field ever since like his rookie season. Um, But Derwin James, I really like watching him. He hits hard. He flies around. A player comp is Caleb Williams. Derwin James does, or Caleb Williams reminds me a lot of Derwin James his rookie year. If I'm being honest here, he flies around
Caleb
and makes plays.
Williams.
Or Caleb Downs. I'm sorry,
Okay,
Caleb
okay,
Downs.
okay, okay, okay.
Caleb's messed me up. My bad. Caleb Downs, Ohio State safety slash
Yep,
middle
yep, yep, yep,
linebacker
yep.
slash corner. Caleb Downs and Derwin James have a lot player comp wise. They just fly around the field and make plays, and it's fun to watch. I just wish Derwin James could stay on the field because he's a great safety and, like I said, fun to watch.
Absolutely. I hear you there. We'll touch on the Texans quickly just because we're moving pretty slowly through these teams.
It's fun. It gets faster after we get through each team.
I hear you. I definitely hear you. The Texans, CJ Stroud has had a sophomore slump of all sophomore slumps. He had probably the best rookie seasons of a quarterback you can have. Um, Kind of dialed it back this year. The Texans have been struggling as of late. They kind of limped their way into the playoffs, if I'm honest. I really liked them going into the season. Um,
They
they held
literally
back.
limped their way in. I mean,
Yeah, they
injuries made them limp.
right wide receiver was the biggest one. You know, Nico Collins went down for a while. Tank Dell had season-ending injury recently. Stephon Diggs went down too. So they are they they went from one of the best wide receiving rooms to now just decimated. And Nico Collins is a star. He's going to just obviously take the front lead there. So I'm not super worried about it, but it is just sad to see that injuries just derailed this offense.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, beginning of the season, this offense looked high powered. I mean, so many weapons. We were worried fantasy wise who to feed.
Yeah,
Like,
too many mouths to feed is my
yeah.
word. Yeah.
And then Stephon Diggs went down, and then Tank Dell went down. I mean, or it went Stephon Diggs, then Nico Collins went down for like a few weeks,
Yep.
came back, then Tank Dell went down, and now you're hitting the playoffs. You got CJ Stroud, Joe Mixon, and Nico Collins on that offense.
Pretty much.
Went from what six five weapons to now you have three.
Right.
The injuries are a big part in the game in this football game. Moving over to the defense, I mean Jalen Petrie, who was your probably your best safety on this team, goes
Yep.
down.
Yep.
Again, injuries just took a toll on this team, and it's showing, and that's why they're just playing flat. And it sucks. The Chargers are peaking at the right time, and the Texans are slumping at the wrong time.
Absolutely. It's sad to see. I hope this game turns out better than I'm expecting it. But I think the Chargers win pretty heftily.
100% agree. Moving on to the NFC.
Yeah, you're gonna love my picks here. This is where mine kind of went off the rails
Boy, went off the rails.
a little bit.
All right, first game. You said off the rails, so I'm expecting my first game. Eagles Packers.
Who you got?
Are we off the rails? I got the Eagles.
Yeah, I got the Packers win this game. Jalen Hurts is hurt, coming off of concussion protocol. He's still in concussion protocol. I don't like that. I think he'll play. I think they'll kind of force him to play anyways. I have a feeling he'll be rusty when he gets back. His mobility is probably going to be limited by the team because they're not going to want him to get hurt again. Jordan Love, I know, got hurt. I don't exactly know what he did. I think it was a knee or an ankle, something like that in the previous game. If he's back in full force, so that's going to be the biggest factor, right? The two quarterbacks in this game. I don't have the final verdict on who's going to play, who's still hurt, who's still healthy, all that kind of stuff. Once I do have a better idea, if Jordan Love is fully healthy, I think the Packers find a way to win this game. I don't think it'll be a nice win. I think it'll be a very ugly looking win, but I think they sneak out a win here.
I think you're forgetting about the biggest thing is Jair Alexander's out.
I think they'll be all right. They'll figure out a way.
Not with AJ Brown and Devonta Smith on the same team. I don't think you find a way.
I don't
Your
trust Jalen Hurts.
second best corner is on AJ Brown. Your third best corner is on Devonta Smith.
Listen.
with the best running back in the league in the backfield.
Listen, the Eagles are the better team. I'm not arguing that they aren't. I'm saying the Eagles will find a way, and I think Jalen Hurts is going to make mistakes and or be limited, which is what's going to lose them this game.
I
It's an
honestly think
upset for a
it
reason.
doesn't matter. It's upsetting me because it's idiotic.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. When it happens, we can have a conversation about
Even if Jalen Hurts is out and Jordan Love is playing, I don't care if Jordan Love is playing. I don't think they can really move the ball on this defense.
it. You think Kenny Pickett starts his game? The Eagles win this game? Answer me
I
that.
would take a injured Bryce Jalen Hurts over Kenny Pickett.
Like, he plays or he doesn't play,
If
regardless if
Jalen
he's injured
Hurts
or not.
doesn't play, give me the Packers.
Okay, so now put in an injured or not fully healthy Jalen Hurts, who we've seen struggle in the past.
Give me the Eagles.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah,
I
I don't
think
know. Hate the pick. They're the
I
favorite for the reason. They're the better
I
team.
think a 20% Jalen Hurts is better than 100% Kenny Pickett.
Ooh, I don't agree with that statement. I'm not
Really?
a huge Jalen Hurts fan in just
I'm
in
I'm
general.
a I like Jalen Hurts. I like Jalen Hurts. I like his story. As a player, he's all right to me. Do not like Kenny Pickett. I'm not a big Kenny Pickett fan, as you can tell.
I don't either, but when it comes down to it, you just gotta who can move the ball.
But even
Injured Jalen
this,
Hurts, immobile.
the Packers won't be able to move the ball either. Do you see this depth at defensive line? This defensive line is insane on the Eagles.
Packers have a decent defensive line too.
Kenny Clark, Lucas Van
They also have the
Ness.
number one stuff rate for rushes against them.
Have they played the number one running back in the league?
Listen,
Let's,
I'm
yeah,
not
they
going to sit here and
did. They
argue
did
with
in
you about my upset pick.
Brazil. I think they did in Brazil. Let's look up
Yeah,
those
first
stats.
game of the year.
I'll look up those stats real quick. Let's see how they
You
stop
can't
Saquon
take
Barkley.
the first game of the season and say that's what's going to happen now.
Okay.
Like, that's not how that works. The team's completely changed by the end of the season.
So how's the other team?
Well, right. So that's why you have to throw it away. That game doesn't mean
I
anything.
suppose. All right. Last game they played a decent running back. Lions. Jahmyr Gibbs. Actually, David Montgomery was better. They gave up over 100 rushing yards to David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs.
Combined or each individually?
No, combined.
Okay. How many carries?
Um, 29 between those
30
two.
carries? And you're complaining they gave up 100 yards?
I mean, David Montgomery's averaging 3.6. If you average
That's
3.6,
average.
that's average. Saquon Barkley's above average.
If you're holding a team to
Saquon
a
Barkley,
100 yards on 39
Saquon
carries or
Barkley
29
will
carries, that's
average
crazy to me.
5 yards a carry and will win the game.
I'm not going to argue with you about the number two seed beating the number seven seed.
Just saying, the Eagles are going to win the game.
Okay.
Might because I'm biased and I hate the Packers, but the Eagles will win this game.
Oh, I don't really, it doesn't bother me either way, honestly. I'm not a
Moving
huge
on to the
Packer
next
fan. I'm
game.
just saying I think that it could happen.
It's not going to happen.
What else you got?
Moving on. Commanders beat the Bucks.
The Commanders, in fact, do beat the Buccaneers.
I knew that one was going to be right. Now you're telling me the Rams are going to beat the Vikings.
Let's focus on this game first.
He's going to tell me the Rams are going to beat the Vikings. I'm going to mute his
One game
mic.
at a time, buddy. One game
I'm
at a
going to
time.
mute his mic. I'm going to mute his mic. It's coming. I'm telling you. Soon as you say it, I'm muting your mic.
I just want to know who has a better bracket in the NCAA tournament right now. Can we just start there?
What?
Who has predicted more games correct in the
I
NCAA?
don't know what you're talking about.
So we'll start there, and then we'll work towards this bracket.
Yeah, okay. Okay. You just wait until next week. We'll see how we'll check in, okay?
Please, I can't wait for Tuesday. Can't wait.
No, I can. Not really. All right.
Washington Buccaneers, Washington Commanders versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think Baker's going to fumble the bag in this game. I
100%
think
agree.
I think he's going to throw for sure an interception, maybe lose a couple fumble, maybe not a couple fumbles. He's going to have a couple key turnovers in this game that are going to be the deciding factor. That is my opinion on how this is going to go. Jaden Daniels, I think he's going to have a good game. The Buccaneers defense has some holes in it. Yeah, there's some ability to throw the ball on this team. I think Jaden Daniels has a pretty decent day against them, and ultimately Baker Mayfield is the deciding factor as a negative towards his team.
I haven't really taken a deep look at the Commanders depth chart. They don't really have a wide receiver outside of Terry McLaurin, do they?
They haven't all season.
I'm just looking for like off seasons, like, hey,
Zacchaeus is number two.
what? Num
Zacchaeus, he's their number two. He stepped into
Oh,
that
yeah.
role as of recently. He's had a couple big weeks here that
Because Noah Brown was their number two, and then he got hurt.
right.
Noah Brown was having a really, really good year.
He's an
Yeah,
underrated receiver.
Noah Brown, yeah,
He doesn't get enough
um,
credit.
for sure. But like looking at this team, a lot of no namers. Like I could tell you, Olamide. Again, the guy
Zacchaeus,
you just mentioned.
yeah, Zacchaeus. I don't know. I wasn't even gonna attempt his first name.
Yeah. He was a Falcons receiver. I know that for some reason.
He was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he.
And he's now into a starting spot on a playoff team. What a glow up for him. Am I right? Yeah, it's a lot of no names on this. Not a lot, but it's a lot of people that you're like, hey, how are they? What are they? A three seed in the playoffs with all this? Like,
They're a six seed.
oh, they're the other team's a three seed. The Bucks
Yeah,
are the
there you
three
go.
seed.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, that just shows how much I think the Commanders are better than the Bucks. Yeah, but you're like, hey, okay, I guess that makes more sense. But they're in the playoffs with this bad of a wide receiver core. It's kind of whack, but
They've
Jane
just been,
Daniels is our savior.
yeah. Jaden Daniels has just been. He's kind of like Josh Allen esque, right? Now that's a crazy comparison. So like, hear me out. He's put the team on his back to help them win games. So not play style, not how good they are to each other.
I don't think it's that crazy to say that.
Well, I just don't want to be people like, oh, Jaden Daniels is as good as Josh Allen. Like that's just not
No,
the case.
no, let him come from my
No,
head.
that is not the case.
Jaden Daniels is pretty close to Josh. I'm not saying he's better, but he's pretty close to Josh Allen's level.
That's a crazy take.
I'm
Listen,
standing right here.
everybody knows that I'm as big of a Jaden Daniels fan as anybody, but that is a crazy take. He is great. He is going to be great. I'm not putting
Mm,
him Josh Allen level
he's right there.
after 17 games. Not doing it.
Give me, give me. He's right there. I would take Josh Allen. I would take Josh Allen. I'm not
I
saying
hope
he's
so. I
better.
would hope so.
I'm not saying he's better, but I'm
You go.
saying he's damn close. If Josh Allen wasn't available and maybe like three other quarterbacks weren't available, give me Jaden Daniels. I think
You
Jaden
go.
Daniels might be
There's our thumbnail for the video. Everybody stayed for it. Just be like playoff brackets. Would
plus
you rather
Jaden
have
Daniels Blaze.
Josh Allen versus Jaden Daniels? Boom. That'll get some people thinking.
It's definitely a good topic, and I think if we fast forward this to next year, I think it'll be a way better debate. I think Jane Daniels, if he avoids the sophomore slump, I think it'll be an insane debate. I honestly could see a video incoming next year, Jane Daniels versus Josh Allen. Who do you got?
Could be in the Super Bowl.
Oh, oh!
Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Super Bowl next year. Are we onto something here?
Did we just predict the future?
That'd be crazy.
Are we reading palms right
Bookmark
now?
this. That'd be crazy. One
Would
thing I
be
want to talk about on the Buccaneers is this last week they got Mike Evans to 1,000 yards for the 11th straight season. They need on the last drive of the game, they needed him to get 5 more yards. Did you see this play?
I did.
Do you realize that they were only up 8 points? Can you imagine if that ball gets tipped at the line of scrimmage, the Saints intercept that ball, return it for a touchdown, they lose that game, or that would tie up the game if they made the 2 point conversion. Whole lot of ifs I'm throwing at you right now. But can you imagine that happens? Or scenario number two, and I don't want to take up too much time here. What if they throw that pass to Evans and he gets tackled for like a 3 yard gain. You think they call timeout and throw the ball again to him to get him another 2 yards?
Do you see the Baker interview?
No, I
He
didn't.
was because Bucky Irving got the break off run and he ran it in, and
Yep.
he was like, Baker's like, yeah, I thought he was gonna like kneel it down at the six to get Mike Evans's like stuff, you know. Nah, he ran it in, and then like the announcer or the interviewer's like, "What'd you think in that moment?" He goes, "Shit." I'm like, yeah, Baker. And then they throw, and of course, Mike Evans goes up and gets it and makes record ties Jerry Rice. We can have Mike Evans conversation another day. I think that's a pretty good conversation of first ballot Hall of Famer or not, anything like that. But yeah, it was a definitely a Madden-ish moment where like, hey, I got 40 seconds left in this game and I'm only up by 8, but I need to patent the stats of my QB because he's a rookie and I need the experience. So you just hug it down there and your guy gets it and you're like, oh yeah, look at that experience. It was a Madden play if I'm being honest.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, it didn't really mean all that much because even if they would have lost the game, they still would have actually. I guess they would have
But
finished as the 4 seed, so it actually would have had some implications. But nonetheless, worked out for them. Not a huge deal. I just thought it was kind of interesting.
for sure. Next game, I got it right here, dude. I'm ready to mute you.
Listen, I just want to start off by saying the spread of the game is only a point and a half. So
Who do you have?
it is a projected close game. I have the Rams winning this game.
He's muted. So yeah, that's insane. The Vikings have been you're muted. You're muted. No one can hear you. No one can hear you. You have to unmute yourself, by the way. So if you want to talk, you can go ahead and hit that. Um, yeah. He probably doesn't know how.
Bro, I didn't know that. I don't know the rules of muting.
The Vikings have been one of the best teams all year. Went toe to toe with the actually not toe to toe with the Lions. That's insane for me to say. They low-key got kind of crushed by the Lions. I was about to say toe to toe with the Lions. That's no, they got killed by the Lions. They're still what 14-3. I think I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout, but I still think they come out on top of the Rams. Um, maybe win by a field goal, in my opinion. You're allowed
The
to talk.
Lions opened the defensive playbook up for any opponent against the Vikings. They showed Sam Darnold's ultimate weakness in that if he is pressured, he forgets how to play football. Sam Darnold looked just like he was back on the Jets last week. He got pressured, didn't know what to do, couldn't get the ball out, fumbled the bag.
But who's going to pressure him on this team?
The Rams will be blitzing heavily in this game to try and mimic even a portion of what the Lions were doing to throw Sam Darnold off his game. And I think the Rams offense is good enough to beat the Vikings. I just want to point out that the Rams are one of the teams who have already beaten the Vikings this year. So they already know how to scheme against them. They've already done it once with a far worse team, in my opinion. The Rams weren't as good at that point in the season than they are now. Now you can make the same argument for the Vikings. They've kind of figured themselves out. They're a better team as well. But I think this is going to be a good matchup, and I think the Rams could win this game. Home field advantage is going to play a big factor into this as well, which helps the Rams in that aspect. This one is not as outlandish in my mind as the Packers one, but
I do agree. It's not as outlandish
like
as the Packers one. I think the Rams have a better chance of beating the Vikings than the Packers have a chance of beating the Eagles. Um,
the spread would indicate that as well.
yeah, Vegas is actually right here. They weren't right in the AFC. That was kind of whack. Um, yeah, but I just don't know. I don't think the Rams have the corners to keep up with if they do blitz. I don't think the corners are good enough to
That's
cover
true.
Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison when they're alone, because usually if you blitz, you're in man coverage unless you run a zone blitz. Then it's a little different, but it's a lot easier to beat the zone coverage if you're blitzing. You can just run a little slant route and you got a wide open guy. Little scheme up there if you need some football knowledge by the read frame. If you're running a man blitz, I think these corners will be absolutely baked by Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Um, if Sam Darnold, I think the biggest if is if Sam Darnold gets the ball out, they're going to cook the corners. Sam Darnold just needs to get that ball out, and I think that might be the factor of the game if we're being honest.
That's my point. The Rams need to get to Sam Darnold to make him not be able to get the ball out or inaccurately. because that's what the Lions were doing. The other thing the Lions did extremely well, and we got to give them a lot of credit for, is those corners absolutely shut down
Yeah, they
Justin
did.
Jefferson. That was insane. I don't think I've ever seen corners play man-to-man coverage against Justin Jefferson and have as good of a game as they just did. That was wild.
Yeah,
So yeah, I 100% agree. The Rams secondary is far less adequate to defend this team than the Lions, but the Rams now know pressure is the key to getting to Sam Darnold. So I
I
think
agree.
if there's a team that could beat the Vikings in an upset type win, I think the Rams could do it at home.
All right, moving on to the divisional playoffs. It should now go a little bit faster. I mean, there's only two teams that we haven't covered now.
Sure.
Um, First game, Chargers at Chiefs. I took the Chiefs.
I did as well.
I think this game is going to be super close. I
That's funny
think
because this was the second most confident game I had this week of this round.
second most.
Second.
Okay, I think I could guess
Remember,
your
we had
first.
different teams. So our matchups are slightly different in the second round.
Yeah, I guess they would go there. Okay, yeah, I can get where your first is. Um, I don't think so. Chargers are hot. Like I said, they're coming off a Texans win now too. They're playing hot, and the Chiefs are a team that just find a way to win, and I think that's what they do in this game. I
I agree.
think I think they're just going to find a way to win. And
Yep.
that's what's going to make it a close game. It's going to come down to a field goal off of a Travis Kelce one-handed catch down at the 30. Taylor Swift goes crazy in the stands. That Harrison Buckner hits a kick, and they go to the conference championship. It's going to be
Yep.
something along that line. I mean, if that happens, that would be insane. Someone buy me a lottery ticket and let me scratch it off. Um, but I think it's gonna be a close game, and the Chiefs are just gonna find a way to win.
I agree. That was kind of my although I picked the game relatively easy, it was kind of a just the Chiefs are going to find a way to win this. It's going to be a one score game, is what it is. Moving on to the next one. That's not, I didn't put a whole lot of thought to it. The Chiefs are just the better team, although it would be cool if the Chargers won.
Yeah. Next game, this is my least confident, if I'm gonna be
Agreed.
honest.
Agreed.
I have the Ravens over the Bills.
I have the Bills winning over the Ravens.
I I
Home
I
field
want to say I
advantage
agree.
was the one key I liked about this game. The two seed
Home field
versus
advantage.
three seed game in Buffalo plays a big factor into my decision to take the
It's
Bills.
could be snowing, and if it snows, give me Buffalo. If it snows, give me
Exactly.
Buffalo.
Yep.
Um, like I said, as soon as you said Buffalo, I would say, hey, okay, I agree. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna
that's
argue.
you could sway my opinion on that game either way very easily.
We've touched on both the teams. I would say both these teams are amazing. Um, yeah, Ravens Bills. I would not bet on this game.
No, I,
That's
I would stay
Ravens.
away from that one.
This is going to be a good game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Moving on to the NFC.
So ours are going to be different here. Our matchups are going to be different,
I think we're going to choose the same winner though.
probably.
I have. Oh, it just glitched on me. I have Lions versus the Commanders. You should have Lions versus the Packers, correct?
That is correct. That was my easiest pick of the week. I think the
Yeah.
Lions absolutely smash the Packers if it comes to that.
100% agree. I think the Lions will not smash the Commanders, but I do think they will beat the Commanders. Um, Probably a 7 point game, I think, by a touchdown. I think it's playoff football, so we're not going to see very many blowouts. But I do think the Lions take care of business against the Commanders. Most notable thing about the Lions is David Montgomery should be back that week. Um, so that's what I've been hearing. And again, the Lions are just an insane team. They're the one seed with the amount of injuries they've had. They lost one of their best players on defense, Aiden Hutchinson, for the year, and they're still performing on a super high level. They look like the team to beat in the NFC, and I don't think the Commanders will do what needs to be done.
Yeah, that's fair.
I feel like you could say the same thing for the Packers.
Yeah, I saw that match. Packers don't stand a chance in that game.
Yeah. Moving to you had the Rams winning, so here we I have
I have the Rams versus the Commanders because of how my match.
ah
So I have the Rams beating the Commanders.
you Rams going to the conference chip.
I do.
I have the Eagles beating the Vikings.
Interesting. I think I would have taken the Vikings.
I'm betting Jalen Hurts is healthy by now, hoping he's healthy by now. I keep saying Hurty because his name's Hurts. I'm messing up my words. Healthy, and I think this offense is at full power, and I just don't know if the Vikings defense can keep up with the offense. I will say I don't think the Eagles defense will keep up with the Vikings offense. I do think this is another really close game. I think it's going to be high scoring, if I'm going to be honest. I don't think either defense is going to be able to really stop each other. I could definitely see you taking the Vikings though. Like I think you would take the Vikings, yeah. Just because I think the defense, I just think the Eagles will figure something out about that defense and proceed to just outscore them.
Fair enough.
Okay. So
Now
your
we have two different matchups here because I have the
our
Chiefs.
our playoff brackets are just
Yeah,
completely
yeah, they're
different.
completely different. I have the Chiefs and Bills on the AFC side.
I have Chiefs Ravens.
I just thought it was very poetic that a rematch of Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. The whole
Hmm.
coin flip game.
Very scripted, you could say.
Some might say. Hmm.
Yeah,
I got the Bills winning, by the way.
I like it. I have the Ravens beating the Chiefs.
So we both have the Chiefs not making it to the Super Bowl. Something we can agree
I
on.
I agree. I think the Ravens again, if they go beat Buffalo in Buffalo, they played in cold weather. That means you played in cold weather. That means you can go beat Kansas City in cold weather because you just did it in Buffalo. If they can prove they can do it at another cold stadium, they can do it again. And I honestly think Buffalo is better than Kansas City. That's why I think I agree with you taking the Bills over Kansas City. So I think the Ravens can do it.
The thing with the Chiefs is their luck's going to run out. They've had all one score
Yep.
games. They can't, when it comes to the playoffs and they have good teams, they can't last forever.
Hmm.
So I think it's going to run out in the conference round. I don't see them making the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Okay. NFC Championship, this is going to be totally different. This is going to be a weird. I guess we do have
Yeah,
one team alike, don't we?
yeah, we do.
Lions.
For the Lions,
Lions, you have Lions versus
Rams.
Rams. I have Lions versus Eagles.
Yep.
We both have the Lions.
Yes, we do.
Pretty easy there. I don't think there's a
Yep.
team in the NFC that could really keep up with the Lions. I
I
think the
yeah, I
Lions.
think the Lions are far and away the best team in the NFC. It just kind of is what it is.
So my Super Bowl is Lions versus Ravens.
I got Lions Bills for an
I got the
electric
Lions.
matchup.
This is gonna be electric. I got the Lions against the Ravens.
I also have the Lions over the Bills.
We both have the same Super Bowl champions, just a little bit different way to get there.
I
This is
looking at this bracket, I'm actually really excited for how these playoffs are going to come together. Obviously, chances are neither of us are going to even come close to predicting this perfectly, but just seeing the potential matchups that could happen, there's a lot of great games that are kind of setting up to happen in this playoffs, and I'm very excited for it, regardless if the Seahawks made it or not.
it's football. I mean, of course, you would love to see your favorite team in here.
I just love meaningful football with good teams. Right? I don't want to see the Panthers versus the Patriots games. I don't want to see that stuff. I want to see Ravens Bills. I want to see Lions Vikings. I mean, that was a fun game to watch. Love those kind of games.
Yes. Yeah,
Meaningful, good games.
I agree. This playoff is going to be a fun playoff to watch. This Super Bowl is going to be a fun Super Bowl to watch, especially since the Chiefs aren't going to be in it. Hopefully, I mean,
I hope
kind of.
so. I
I
hope
think
so.
everyone's gotten tired of Kansas City being in the Super Bowl. But with that, yeah, maybe you could go fill out your own bracket and see how it matches up to me or Jameson's. Tell me tell us who got a better idea. Tell us how outlandish Jameson is with his takes. Tell me if I should keep him on mute the entire next episode and you should only want to listen to me because I completely understand that. Like, honestly, who wants to listen to this guy with his weird takes? I will, if you guys leave that in the comments, I will for sure mute him the entire time. Completely get that. But with that, I think that our episode will come to the end. We'll see you guys next week.
Appreciate it, everybody. Peace out.